I'm Coyote Peterson. This is Mario Aldecoa. One of these two reptiles is an alligator, and the other is a crocodile. Do you know which is which? Stay tuned, because we're about to show ya. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so what I have in my hands right here, this is the American alligator.
And what I have in my hands is the American crocodile.
And right now we're in South Florida. And what's really awesome about this location is that this is the only place in the world where these two reptiles' territories overlap. However, catching these two animals was far easier said than done. Let's take a look at last night's catches. There's something right here.
Where is it? Hold on,
Right
I don't
there,
see it.
right
I don't see it. Stay right there. Let me see if I can get closer. I got a shot on him, so if you want to go for it.
I got it. 1, 2, 3.
I got it. Nice.
I got it.
Woo! Great grab. Woo! All right.
Yes.
Wow. Well, that right there is the first piece of the puzzle, the American crocodile. Now we just need to find an American alligator. I got an alligator right there.
Oh yeah.
All right, full weight going into this. This is one of those things, you don't think about it, you just do it. Ready?
Yep.
1, 2. Got him. Got him, got him. Woo! Woo! Just barely got right behind his neck. Watch your fingers. Here we go, bringing him up. Wow, there it is. All right, now we gotta get the American crocodile up close with this American alligator. Oh man, this is awesome. Look at those teeth. Man, those are some pretty epic catches last night, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, how cool was it to catch an alligator and a crocodile in the same night?
Certainly a first for me. Now, this is great because it's giving us the opportunity to answer a question that a lot of people write in and ask me, sure they also ask you, what's the difference between an alligator and a crocodile? Most people look at a reptile like this and think, oh, it's one and the same, but not really. Once you get them up next to each other, you can really see that they're pretty different looking. Now, obviously these are both reptiles, both crocodilians, and both have been on the planet for what, over 200 million years?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Their lineage is prehistoric.
So we're pretty much looking at dinosaurs here.
Oh yeah.
All right, so first let's look at the differences in snout structure, because this is probably a real easy way to identify these animals in the wild, correct?
Yeah, that's how I identify them. It's very easy. Crocodiles have a pointed, narrow snout. Alligators have a broad, round snout.
Yeah, look how broad that snout is, and that has to do with the type of food that they're eating.
Absolutely, yeah. Crocodiles are more coastal habitats, so they're gonna be eating fish, and they want skinnier jaws to potentially thrash around and grab the fish.
Right, and I can see that with the tooth structure. Those look like little shears. I look at the alligator, and of course we know that alligators are opportunistic. Raccoons, deer, pretty much anything that comes across these jaws, and they have big, broad jaws for crushing their food, pretty much. They crush and swallow things whole. Now, one other similarity that all crocodilians have is a nictitating membrane, and that's really cool. This is kind of like a built-in set of goggles for when you're underwater hunting. Now let's talk about the color of these reptiles, because that is also very distinct. You'll notice that the alligator is very dark in coloration, almost black, and I would imagine that this helps to stay camouflaged in dark, murky water, as well as probably being able to help it absorb sun. As we know, reptiles are ectotherms, meaning that they need the sun to heat up their bodies so that they can go out and be active. The crocodile, however, is much lighter in coloration. Why is that?
Because of its environment. So these guys live in coastal habitats, and they're gonna blend in right with the sand.
Yeah, you'll notice that just this coloration in the scutes and the scale pattern does almost look like sand. I mean, an alligator like this, if it was in a dark, murky swamp, you could look straight down at it and not even see that it's there. Obviously helps it catch its prey once it comes up to the shore, and boom, they lunge out of the water to grab something.
Another difference, take a look at all the scales on the croc and the alligator, especially around the tail. So these are what we call scutes. And if you see, the crocodile has really pronounced scutes. They're longer. The alligator has shorter ones. And those scutes help them propel better through the water.
Yeah, you can see that the alligator's tail is much more knobby in design, whereas the crocodile's tail, how about that for an explosion of power? Yeah, you really need to keep your hands locked on the neck of the alligator and its jaw so that he doesn't get my fingers in his mouth. But you could maybe see right there just how their tail can quickly whip around, and that is all muscle.
This kind of leads to a really common question I get as well, and that is in their temperament. Crocodiles tend to have a very bad reputation. They are considered more dangerous than alligators. But that's not true here in Florida at all. American crocs are actually really shy animals. Alligators are a little bit more bold here in Florida because they're more common, and sometimes they're found in more residential areas.
Right, so they're kind of accustomed to being around humans. But even still, in both of these instances, these animals are not out there looking to actually eat humans. Oftentimes, I know when it's an alligator attack, it's mistaken identity. Somebody that's swimming in the water, dark water specifically, you're thrashing around, you're gonna seem like a wounded animal or a fish, and as an opportunistic feeder, and the alligator's gonna go after you.
Correct.
Now, aside from the physical differences between these two crocodilians, there is something that you need to know that you can't physically see. The American crocodile is actually considered endangered here in South Florida, while the American alligator is just protected. Far more likely to come across one of these beasts than you are a crocodile. If you're out there in the wild and you see a slender snout, consider yourself lucky because it's probably a once in a lifetime. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave. Stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure. You ready to let these two crocodilians go?
Let's do it.
See you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
Venturing into the nighttime desert is not for the faint of heart, as this cactus-strewn ecosystem is laced with a plethora of nocturnal predators. Whether it be scorpions, spiders, that right there is a black widow, sulpugids, or vinegaroons. These arachnids are certain to be on the prowl, as they use the cover of darkness to silently hunt for their prey. Look at that! Does that thing not look like an alien? All arachnids come equipped with 8 legs, and most are also armed with a set of fangs or a venom-injecting stinger. That is the most venomous species of scorpion in the United States. And he's on my hand. All right, this makes me a little bit nervous. I want to see if I can get him to just sit still. However, if 8 legs, fangs, and stingers aren't enough to scare you, Arizona's Sonoran Desert is also home to a subphylum of creatures with even more legs, the myriapods, which consists of centipedes and millipedes. At the end of the day, both of these animals do their best to avoid humans. However, today we are going to capture one of each, so we can get them in front of the cameras for an up-close comparison. First, let's talk about the desert millipede. Now, millipede means 1,000 feet, and each one of these little body segments has 2 pairs of legs on it. Now, there's no way that I'm going to get underneath this creature and count its legs, but I can tell you from it crawling across my arm that there are a ton of them tickling me right now. It feels like a bunch of little tiny pieces of Velcro grabbing onto your arm hairs. Despite the name, there isn't actually a species of millipede on the planet that has 1,000 feet. On average, they have around 400, with the record being 750, more than any other animal in the world. These myriapods have very poor eyesight. They have very simple eyes up front, so they're really using these antennae to help them navigate through the environment. And you'll see as he dances up in the air like that, he's basically looking for what his next move is going to be. If he can't feel anything with those antennae, he's kind of like, whoa, I've run out of road here. And until he bumps into something that he can walk on, he's just gonna stay put until he can get those front legs planted. Now, the millipede doesn't have many predators, and that's because these little myriapods are actually poisonous. They do have glands that run along the side of their body, and if they are really, really threatened, they will secrete a nasty orange fluid, and it absolutely stinks. I actually got it all over my hands the other night. Now, if you get this poison on your skin, all you need to do is wash your hands with soap and water, and you'll be just fine. Now, I'm completely comfortable with millipedes. They don't bite. If it doesn't bite, it can crawl all over me all that it wants. But the centipede is a whole different ball game. And we're gonna get that guy out in a second and get a close look at that venomous little desert dweller. The desert millipede is virtually harmless to humans. And if you encounter one in the wild, just admire it from a safe distance. Okay, now we're on to the part of the episode that I have been dreading. There is no good way to do this. You just have to plop him out and go for it. All right, here we go. Ready? Oh boy. Now he's kind of like, oh, I'm on the ground and I'm on the move. Desert centipedes can inflict a very painful and venomous bite. So I stress, never attempt what I am doing. Okay, there we go. now that I have his head under control, and more importantly, those fangs, I feel a lot better about this situation. Oh, look at how creepy that little desert creature is. Now what's really interesting is that the centipede means 100 feet. Each species of centipede varies. There's no way that this one has 100 feet, but as they continue to grow and their body segments elongate, they grow more legs. Now, one major difference between the centipede and the millipede is that the centipede has a very flattened body. This allows them to fit into crevices between rocks and allows them to glide very quickly over the surface of the desert. Now, these are voracious predators. They are out here right now walking the washes and searching through the rocks for other animals. They will eat bugs, they will eat scorpions, they will eat lizards, and the ones that grow to the size of the giant desert centipede, they will even take rodents. But the bite from a centipede of even this size is going to put you into some incredible pain. That's why I want to be as careful as possible while handling this myriapod. One really interesting feature about all centipedes is that you see the back end here, this rump, you have these two modified legs on the back end here, which have little hooks in them. Now, this back end is pretty much a false head. It's the same color as the head is, and these two little modified feet on the back end here have hooks on them. So let's say you're a predator and you're coming in, you're like, all right, I'm gonna get him, I'm gonna bite his head right off. These little modified feet go up in the air, boom, and you get pricked with those little spikes. Throws you off guard, the centipede spins around, and that's when you get a bite from those venomous fangs. This is not a creature that is very easy to consume. Centipede venom is not considered deadly to humans. However, the pain has been said to keep a full-grown man on the ground and in pain for several hours. Moral of the story? Steer clear of centipedes. I hope everybody enjoyed this comparison, the desert centipede versus the desert millipede. Both species are native to the Sonoran Desert, and I suggest avoiding both because the centipede is venomous and the millipede is poisonous. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave, stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure. Both of these myriapods play an important role in the ecosystem. And while they may be creepy and have a gazillion legs as compared to you and me, always try to remember that they are going to use each and every one to run in the opposite direction.
Okay, ready to go again? And action.
Over the years, we have milked venom from all of the world's most dangerous snakes. And if you've been following along with these crazy escapades, then you know that we have strategically skipped over one of the most terrifying species, the mamba.
We are back in DeLand, Florida, at the Reptile Discovery Center. And as always, we'll be working with America's favorite snake expert. Look at Carl back there getting warmed up for a morning filled with fresh snake milk.
In the world of venomous reptiles, there's nothing more terrifying than an angry mamba. They're fast, strong, intelligent, calculated, and armed with a highly neurotoxic venom that if it enters your bloodstream is a guaranteed death sentence. Now here's something crazy. Carl has been bitten not once, but 3 times by these snakes, which makes today's venom milking episode the most dangerous one that we've ever produced. Hey!
Hey Coyote, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Carl. How are you?
Welcome. Good to see you guys.
Thank you. We are back, and we are here to milk mambas. Let's talk mambas for a second, because generally people know there's the black mamba.
Yeah.
They know there's the green mamba, but in total, how many mamba species are there?
Yeah, so we really just say 4 species. 3 species of greens, and then of course the infamous black mamba. They are all African snakes. They're kind of distributed in different places through sub-Saharan Africa. Although interesting, the black mamba has the largest range of the 4 different snakes.
And the black mamba, as everybody out there watching knows, is so revered throughout its range. I mean, it's the snake that truly terrifies people. I would say of any snake on the planet, we hear that people are more afraid of black mambas when we're traveling, mostly than any other snake. What makes a mamba so dangerous?
Yeah, you're gonna see a little bit of it today. Black mambas, of course, get big, almost 12 feet. That's an enormous venomous snake to begin with. They're terrifically toxic. Years ago, they would say before the advent of antivenom, the black mamba was 100% fatal in a bite. That's probably not entirely true, but no doubt. He's a hypertoxic, very large, very active elapid. So even though mambas are in fact shy, nervous, retiring snakes, when people are forced to interact with one or inadvertently step on one or have cornered one, they become a formidable adversary and a really challenging snake.
Okay, now the word that you said in there was nervous. And I can completely identify with the nervous nature of a mamba, having worked with one in the wild. We did work with a black mamba in the wild in South Africa.
That's magnificent.
And they keep you on edge for sure. And it's that nervousness that's very calculated at the same time. So in your opinion, when we're talking one being more dangerous than the other, green versus black, which one ranks as a more dangerous snake?
Well, as a more dangerous snake to handle, certainly the black mamba.
Okay.
And more dangerous in general, again, the black mamba. He's capable of a large venom yield, a terrifically toxic venom. They're a challenge to handle, as you say, somewhat calculated and deliberate, and terribly unforgiving of a mistake. So we were doing lots of mamba venom in the late 90s and early 2000s. I have been bitten by 3 of the 4 species of mambas. That's very embarrassing.
Okay, so let's talk about being bitten by the green mamba for a second first.
So the green mamba was actually my second mamba bite, and because of the work we do with snake venom, I have become hypersensitive, allergic to snake venom. Like you would be to bee venom, it makes my work a little trickier. We have a terrific, what we call anaphylactic event. We tend to treat that on the way to the hospital, meet the emergency services people. They get in their way for me, get me going, and then into the hospital for antivenom. But by the time I was in the hospital bed, so now we're talking 20, 30 minutes post-bite, I was getting sick. I was having blurred vision, I was salivating, I couldn't get a kind of a swallowing thing happening, and so we were already starting to experience some neurotoxicity and this kind of thing. The tissue involvement and the blood formations happened later over the course of the next 2 days.
So, do you have mamba antivenom here on site if the worst case scenario were to happen and heaven forbid you were to be bitten?
Absolutely. So we've got a number of different mamba antivenoms on site.
Now, my heart is going faster than normal. We're in a tight enclosed room. There's lots of venomous snakes. You're telling me this story about having been bitten by the snake species. I know the demeanor of these creatures. Do you at all get nervous in working with any of these, especially something like the mamba coming out today? Any sense of like heightened anxiety?
No, but I get hyper-focused.
Okay.
You know, the whole thing that allows us to do our job is we don't fear the snakes, we understand them, but we certainly understand what's in play and the gravity of a snake bite. It's not something we take lightly.
Yep.
We haven't had a snake bite in 16 years. We've been safe for a very long time. We're going to continue that safety record today. Moving, coming towards you, Maria.
Whoa. Wow, it's beautiful.
They really are spectacular, aren't they?
Pressure.
Don't change anything. Good.
Whoa.
Tell me when everybody's good.
I'm good, Mario. You good?
Yep.
So this is the milking moment right here, and smaller fangs, obviously, so you don't worry about them necessarily catching a finger, right?
So as elapids go, mambas have pretty long fangs, especially blacks. And remember, greens are often arboreal. They're almost strictly arboreal. And so these guys are often feeding on little birds and that kind of thing. And so those longer fangs help them. So we're gonna bring him through. There he goes. You saw that first little shot.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh.
another. And another. Give him 1 second. We'll see if he'll bite one more time for us. So
That was crazy how it shot out of the fangs, more than just a drip. It was like, phew.
Yeah, you see this beautiful little chut, chut, chut. You know, again, they'll give you 3 or 4 shots. And let's see if she'll go one more time here. And that's about it.
I saw a little bit on the backside there.
So that's a good yield for that snake. We typically plan on about 50 milligrams for a green. My guess is that's actually quite a bit more than that. And as I said, that beautiful, slender, arboreal snake. And as a lapid go, these guys are really great snakes. I mean, that's really a beautiful, spectacular animal. We'll go back in.
is.
Everybody's good?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The way the venom shot out was much different than we've seen from some other elapids. I mean, once that venom goes in, guaranteed death sentence without anti-venom. That went pretty smoothly, I'd say, right?
Good, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's get this venom secure. We're gonna come back to that at the end of the episode, and we're gonna tell you guys how many humans Carl estimates that yield would be able to kill. But first, we gotta talk black mambas.
Yeah, Coyote. So the black mamba becomes kind of a formidable snake as soon as you decide that you're going to interact with him.
Yeah, this snake, like as soon as we had the flashlight on, it knew, okay, I've been spotted, and as soon as we started moving stuff, it was like, get me out of here. It wanted to get away.
Yeah, right. Well, there you go. So they're always looking for an out. They're thinking, I got to get out of here. Rightly so, right? They're dealing with this. So the thing with black mambas is they're somewhat unpredictable, particularly when they're restrained. And so we never entirely know how that's going to go in terms of how much trouble we're going to have actually just getting a hold of him safely. And when I say safely, that's both for us and for him.
Yep.
We're really concerned about making sure our animals are not hurt in the process and that they're handled properly and gently, but within reason, because we really are paying attention to what's happening here. And as you said, the idea of working an 8-foot elapid in this area that's unhappy.
It's intense. We did king cobra here a couple years ago, and that got intense real quickly. Don't worry about the camera. But this is compounded because not only is it a calculated, highly toxic snake, but this is another species that you were bitten by, and you are very much allergic to the black mamba venom as well.
Right, so a black mamba bite was the first mamba bite I had, a big 9-foot male, way back in 1997.
How did that happen?
And we had actually collected the snake's venom, and I was returning the snake to the cage, and we were somewhat new to black mambas. We had only been handling them for about a year at that point, and I was still gaining my understanding there of those guys. And as I was going back into his cage, I had his coils kind of grouped in this hand, and I got his head too close. I went and he struck onto that finger.
And they're strong, so he was able to just use the momentum and the power of his body.
Exactly, and I didn't foresee it. You know, he saw that thing. We always used to say years ago when we were doing a lot of mambas, mambas are terribly unforgiving of a mistake.
Yes.
They're really aware of their distances. They're really aware of where you are. And so the big thing there is, right, you're never close enough. You're never in striking range. And of course, I thought I was controlling the snake's head, but I wasn't adequately controlling his head, and so back into this. So that was it, and we got some pretty good venom on that bite, and things began to happen very rapidly. At that point, I was not allergic to mamba venom.
Okay.
So it was a straight black mamba bite, and we were really able to document some amazing symptoms. But black mambas, again, heavily neurotoxic. Things began happening really rapidly. I was vomiting, blurred vision, convulsions. I was having a bronchospasm. So we had some really serious symptoms. One of the good things about black mamba venom is it neutralizes well. So once you're getting antivenom, I can remember when they started the antivenom wide open, I could almost feel this sensation of, oh, okay, now we're moving in a better direction than we were. So after 2 days in intensive care, things got good very rapidly. And there's almost no local issues with mamba venoms, or at least black mamba venom.
Right.
So we don't see any tissue involvement or big hemolytic factors here, hemorrhaging, none of that stuff like you would be in a rattlesnake or a viper bite. So blacks are kind of purely neurotoxic, both post and presynaptic, but that thing can really get going fast.
Okay, so care is of the utmost importance today, and a couple of years ago when we milked the king cobra, you had this amazing grab of the snake after it was just so rambunctious, and I said,
Whoa, look at the speed. Carl is faster than the cobra.
we know one point Carl was not faster than the mamba, so hopefully today I can say Carl is faster than the mamba.
Carl is getting slower.
So let's get out the black mamba. Mara's gonna pop back in and help you wrangle the snake. We'll get into position. This is as intense as it's going to get today, guys, when it comes from a danger level situation. The black mamba coming out, we've got to be extremely careful. So Carl, we're under your command. You let us know where we need to be, and let's make sure everybody's safe.
Okay, great. Is everybody good?
Everyone's rolling. You are
All
ready
good?
to go.
I'm hoping he's going to be in a good mood today. So we'll see.
Oh my gosh, that's a big snake. He's a monster. Woo!
I'm right in. Whoa, there, baby. Nice. Okay. Babe, good. Want to get him there? You have him? Okay. Hold on 1 second.
Good to move in, Carl.
Yep, all set. Everybody's set. You can be wherever you want to be.
Okay.
Get that, put that over there.
See, this is what I experienced. They coil up and they're so strong. That's one thing that I did not anticipate with the black mamba, is its ability to coil around you. When I was presenting the snake on camera, the only thing I was thinking is that if I lost control of the snake, and remember, we had it in a tube, so I felt much more in control than you are now. If you lost control, that snake would be latched to you.
100%. And as you said, if he's wrapped up around you, getting rid of him presents a very real issue. So it's one of the reasons we stopped going back into the cage and we started just going into a transfer camp.
Okay.
So you can see he's ready to bite. He never fully understands this restraint thing. Is everybody good for him to bite?
Yeah.
Very good.
Everybody's good?
Yep.
There he goes again. Wicked
Wow,
shot right
so
there.
fast.
Wicked shot. Good. Another shot.
Look at that, just the bite and release, and it can control how much venom it's giving, correct?
Totally metering what it's giving me, absolutely. We think that process is largely cognitive, and he's deciding, I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you this. And mambas, again, especially blacks and westies, really famous for these shots at a time, a little bit. We'll get him again in 1 second. Are you good?
It is the intensity that the venom shoots out that you can understand how quickly then that gets into your body.
It's a millisecond, right? It's a millisecond. With blacks, I can remember on my bite, moving to the sink to wash my hands, you always take a minute to decide if the bite is actually hot. And all of a sudden my lips start going numb, my face is tingling. I was maybe 20 seconds into that snake bite. And I remember thinking, here we go.
And hot means you've got venom in your
We've
body,
got,
correct?
we've definitely got a hot bite, right? So one more shot. Perfect.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was even a decent
Great.
amount of venom right there.
Yeah, so that's really a good yield. We're probably looking at 150 megs there,
Okay.
which is about what we like for an adult black, about there. And he really did a good job today.
All right, I'm gonna just back up out of the way a tiny bit there. So
Perfect. So
Wow.
Mara, you're gonna go back to your grab stick. Yeah, good. And then will you do me a favor? See
Yeah.
that garbage can right next to you, Coyote?
This one.
Take all that stuff off it, yep. And you're just gonna put it down there by Mara. Awesome, great.
lid off the top.
Yep,
Please.
perfect.
Okay, so I'm pressure now.
Yep, and you've got him.
I've got him.
Good, now hold on 1 second, good. I'm gonna let him go. I've got him, thanks, buddy.
Okay, I'm letting go.
Yep, grip that. That's a lot of snake. Hold on. Yep, hold on. Thanks, Coyote.
And that's where I say, Carl is faster than the mamba. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! That was intense. The snakes are back in their enclosures, so we feel a little bit safer at this point. But we've still got two very toxic cocktails in front of us, the green mamba venom, the black mamba venom. And Carl, this is the part of the episode where we add up the number of what I like to call tombstones in regard to snake venom yield. Talk to us about these yields, and then we would love to hear your estimate as to how many humans this yield plus this yield would be capable of killing. So let's talk about this one and then that one, and then we'll add them up.
Okay, Coyote, so when people talk about dangerous snakes, there are really two parts to that, maybe three parts to that equation. One part to that equation is venom toxicity. So we know that mambas really rank up in the upper toxicities of snake venoms, right? So as the lapids, cobras, and mambas, and all these snakes go, coral snakes, mambas are right up there. And the next part of the danger equation is venom yield. And this has to do with how much venom does a snake put out in an average snake bite. And so we're going to talk about mamba venoms here, the East African green and the black. The East African green yield is about 50 milligrams of venom on an average yield. Now remember, we had that snake bite multiple times.
And it's got a pretty low viscosity.
This does. So some mamba venoms tend to be pretty light, pretty almost watery, whereas lots of our cobra venoms, this kind of thing, tend to be really viscous. King cobra venom is almost like maple syrup. All of that plays a role in how the venom spreads in the body. But so in the green mamba yield, now remember, he bit 2 or 3 times on this thing. We wind up with about 50 milligrams of venom. And we think that a guesstimate on green mamba lethal dose is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 or 15 milligrams of venom.
Wow.
So this would be probably in the neighborhood of 3-4 lethal doses of venom, something like that.
Okay. 4 tombstones off of the green mamba bite. Now black mamba, bigger snake,
Whole different
bigger
picture.
yield.
Sure. and a greater toxicity. So black mamba venom, we think probably somewhere, a lethal dose, probably somewhere between 5 and 10 milligrams. To give you a sense of that, that would be like 5 or 10 grains of salt in your hand. That's a lethal dose of black mamba venom. Again, we had that snake bite more than once. He gave us about 2 or 3 shots in here, but we're looking at about 200 milligrams in that draw right there. So of those shots, we were looking at probably 50 milligrams, 60 milligrams, this kind of thing. We wound up with a total yield of about 200 milligrams. So in the case of black mamba venom, if we were to say, well, 10 milligrams is lethal, and I think that's probably high, we would be looking at 20 lethal doses of venom here. So, and if we cut that in half, 40 lethal doses of venom. And again, we were talking about danger and yield being a part of that. So a big king cobra might give you 1,200 milligrams of venom for maybe 60 lethal doses.
Okay.
So even though quite a bit less toxic than the black mamba, the king cobra, or at least less toxic, huge amounts of venom. Or an eastern diamondback, where you might get 10 lethal doses of venom in one shot, because it's way less toxic, but lots more venom. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. So it has to do with the level of toxicity, the yield, and I imagine the last part then becomes the snake's proximity to humans and how often you may or may not encounter that snake based on where it is that you live. So what we're ultimately able to surmise here is that a mamba bite is a guaranteed death sentence without antivenom regardless. It doesn't matter if it's going to kill 4 people or 20 people, you are one single individual person. And if you were bitten by either of these snakes, it's a medical emergency.
No question, a medical emergency, and potentially, depending on how much venom he injected, lethal. Yes, absolutely.
So what happens with this venom now that we've milked it? Where does this go specifically?
So the venom here will be filtered, it'll be cleaned up a little bit, it'll be frozen, and then it'll be freeze-dried into a powder form, into a powdered substance. And once we have it in that freeze-dried form, it can be stored for literally decades. All of our mamba venom is going to research applications. We are not producing these venoms particularly for antivenoms. Some of the labs around the world are producing venom specifically for mamba antivenom. We don't do that here. Our mamba venoms are produced for research, and a good part of it is in the United States or Europe.
Right. And when it comes to antivenom and its availability based on where you live, so here in the United States, the snakes we can come across, antivenom is produced that specifically can help people if they're bitten by those species local to them. But in a country like South Africa, where you've got a lot of these snakes, depending on where you live, could be a big difference as to whether or not you can even get antivenom, correct?
Yeah, you know, I think the African continent is really a good place to think about the disparity in snakebite treatment worldwide. So we still see tens of thousands of deaths from snakebite in places like sub-Saharan Africa, in places like Southeast Asia, in parts of Central America and South America, where medical care may be days away. And in fact, when the individual gets to where they're going, there may not even be antivenoms available.
So it's not even guaranteed that if you were in Africa and you were bitten by mamba, that if the medical facility you got to may not even have mamba antivenom.
It may not even have mamba antivenom, and the medical facility may in fact be 2 days away from where you are out in the bush working with animals or whatever it is you're doing out there, agriculture.
Proximity is everything.
In you know, developed countries, we have an incredible luxury in access to medical care and access to antivenom in snakebite.
Well, Carl, the work that's being done around the world, specifically the things that you and Mara are doing here to milk snakes and then ultimately have that venom be produced into antivenom, is saving lives on a daily basis. Thousands of lives every single year. So thank you for all the continued work that you're doing.
Thank you,
Thanks again, as always, for having us out here to the Reptile Discovery Center. Getting to milk the mambas today was certainly the top level of venomous snakes that we could have done a venom episode.
Glad you guys enjoyed it.
I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave, stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure. That was a good one. We made it through it.
Snakebites seriously injure or kill over 600,000 people worldwide every year. How crazy is that? And Carl told us about this amazing group, the Asclepius Snakebite Foundation, a nonprofit that is dedicated to reversing the tragic cycle of snakebite outcomes through innovative research, medicine, and public health initiatives. Believe it or not, snakebite is a global health crisis. And if you want to help, check out their website because every donation helps them save lives.
Costa Rica is home to an enormous variety of wildlife. Being positioned geographically between North and South America, its neotropical climate creates the perfect habitat for nearly 500,000 species of animals. And while a large portion of these creatures are creepy, crawly, slithery, or slimy, there are also around 200 species of mammals. However, getting up close with them in the wild is nearly impossible. So today I will be visiting the Alturas Wildlife Sanctuary, which is perfectly placed along the Pacific coast in the beachfront town of Dominical. This facility helps displaced or injured animals rehabilitate so that they can eventually be released back into the wild. The sanctuary is home to many species, and on this episode, I will be getting to spend my morning with two very adorable baby sloths. It's sloth feeding time. Now we make these versus videos and people always think that the animals are gonna fight. Not the case, especially when it comes to baby sloths. Now what you're looking at here is a three-toed sloth and a two-toed sloth. Now there are some very distinct differences between these two species, and right now we're going to show you those differences. Notice how the three-toed sloth has a very coarse coat that is darker in coloration, while the two-toed is much softer and lighter in color. Face structure, however, is the most visually obvious difference. You can see how distinct the face of the three-toed sloth is, and this is the quintessential sloth species here in Costa Rica, the most famous of the sloths. It has that really adorable little raccoon-looking mask, those black beady eyes, and that button nose. When you look at the two-toed sloth, you'll see that the coloration is a goldish tan. The nose, the lips, and the eyes are all lighter in coloration, and the snout is slightly elongated. Good morning, Cookie. How are you? Is this fun? You're on camera this morning. You're the star of the show. Both of you are. You could have your own show, couldn't you? I feel like you'd be a good host. This is absolutely the coolest thing I've ever done. Feeding both a two-toed and a three-toed sloth at the same time. Here we go, camera. Let's see if you want some more. He likes more? Oh, he likes my watch. Licking my watch. Look at that. You get a shot of that? Yum, yum, yum. Yep, can't eat the watch. Let's go back to having milk and not my watch. How about that? I must have gotten goat milk on my watch because that all of a sudden became the topic of interest. And they can eat up to 20 syringes of milk in a sitting. Got a milk mustache there. Let's get that for you. There you go. Okay. Was that good? Finger structure is another major difference between these species. The three-toed sloth has 3 fingers on its forefeet. They are fused together and act like a grappling hook as they hang from tree branches. The two-toed is actually capable of independently moving its 2 fingers, and the hairless paw pads allow it to easily grip and manipulate food. And both species are arboreal, which means that they spend the majority of their time up in the trees. Actually, the only time that they ever come down to the ground is to move from tree to tree, or every 7 days, that's when they go to the bathroom. So you'll just sit around for 7 days and eat leaves and fruit and flowers, and then you'll come down to do your business. But when they're up in the trees, they're mainly solitary animals except for when it's a female with a baby or during breeding season. So you can look up into the treetops, and if that sloth is staying completely still, it just looks like a termite nest or a mound of leaves and allows them to stay camouflaged to hide from predators. Being primarily nocturnal, the two-toed sloth spends its nights foraging for leaves and fruits under the cover of darkness, while the three-toed sloth is a day creature, spending its time in the daylight feasting on mainly leaves. As for Cookie and Caramel, at the tender age of just a few months, their diet consists of primarily milk. Aw, look at that. Cookie is fast asleep after her morning of goat's milk. I have done some amazing things in my life, but nothing tops feeding the adorable baby sloths. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave. Stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure. For Cookie and Caramel, the future looks bright, and in just a few months, they should be back in the treetops, living the sloth life. However,
There are many other animals at Alturas that also need the same amount of love and care. For those that cannot return to the rainforest, this incredible facility becomes a permanent home where they are cared for each and every day by an incredible staff of animal experts. Do you dream of feeding a baby sloth? If so, I have good news. The Alturas Wildlife Sanctuary is constantly welcoming new volunteers to help with the rescue, rehabilitation, and release of Costa Rica's beautiful animals. For more information on how you can become a part of the team, visit their website, alturaswildlifesanctuary.org. I oftentimes question whether or not there is a predator in the wetland ecosystem that is more perfectly designed than the snapping turtle. Try to imagine yourself as a fish out for a morning swim, and around each and every lily pad you turn, there may be a set of bone-crushing jaws waiting to meet you. Snapping turtles rule their food chain, and the wetlands of America are their kingdom. There are two very distinct types of snapping turtles that have multiple species within their respective genera. To keep it simple, we will talk generically about the common snapping turtle, which grows to an average weight of 30 pounds and is native to nearly the entire eastern half of the United States, parts of Mexico, and Central America. Then there is the larger alligator snapping turtle, which averages close to 70 pounds, a threatened species whose range has been reduced to the southeastern United States. These reptiles are truly ancient, and today we are lucky enough to have both of these species on hand so we can give you an up-close look at their distinct differences. This is Adam Remedies, the true turtle man of Louisiana, and what we have for you guys here are our two distinct dragons. Now, as you guys know, I'm from Ohio. I'm used to catching this guy right here, the common snapping turtle, or as I refer to it, the mud dragon. Now, what Adam's used to working with is this guy right here, what they refer to as loggerheads, the alligator snapping turtle. So, you said this is about the average size of the common snapping turtles that you guys get down here, right?
Yeah, that's about the average
now,
size.
For me, this is a small common snapping turtle.
Really?
Now, I know a lot of you have seen our other videos on snapping turtles and you've thought, gosh, these alligator snapping turtles seem really, really calm. Now, as soon as you get an alligator snapping turtle out of the water, handle it gently, put it on your knee, they really do calm down. Is that what you experience, Adam? Almost all of them, after they've been captured, figure, okay, the more I struggle, the more energy I'm going to waste. The common snapping turtle is a much more aggressive species than the alligator snapping turtle. Let me see if I can get him to strike here. Whew, yeah, you see how fast that head shoots out of the mouth? Now, the alligator snapping turtle, I'm gonna keep you away from my nose, doesn't ever really strike his head out. See that? He'll open his mouth up wider and say, go ahead, get your hand close to those scissor-like jaws, but he's not even gonna actually strike. You see that? I can get my hand all the way in front of his face. Now, I don't recommend you ever try that at home with either of these turtle species, but the point I'm trying to prove is that the common snapping turtle is much more aggressive than the alligator snapping turtle. The one major difference between all snapping turtles that makes them separate from other turtle species is that they cannot tuck their extremities into their shell. You see how small the plastron is on both the common and the alligator snapping turtle. You have all of this exposed muscle, and that's why they've developed these incredible defensive techniques. And you see both turtles have their mouths open right now, both of them ready to bite if we get our fingers too close. But look at the bite spread on the alligator snapping turtle as compared to the common snapping turtle. Huge difference there. Alligator snapping turtles hunt by laying on the bottom of slow-moving creeks and rivers with that little worm-like appendage. You see that right there in the base of his mouth? Looks just like a worm. Now that's how these turtles hunt because they're ambush predators. Common snapping turtles are nomadic predators, which means that they're going to move about in a body of water looking for their prey, actually hunting it down before they catch it, kill it, and consume it. Now the carapace is the top of the shell, and you can see that the common snapping turtle has a much smoother appearance as compared to the spiky appearance of the alligator snapping turtle. Common snapping turtles typically inhabit ponds like you see behind us, and alligator snapping turtles are usually found in slow-moving creeks and rivers. Now, the common snapping turtles have these large pointy osteoderms on their tails. Now, osteoderm is just a piece of bone covered in scale, and you see it really looks like the spikes on the tail of a dragon. You see the osteoderms on the alligator snapping turtle
are a lot smaller. And as these turtles grow and their tails get bigger, the osteoderms actually get smaller, which is the opposite with common snapping turtles. As a common snapping turtle continues to grow, its tail gets fatter and the osteoderms become more pronounced. Now, if you look at the nose of the common snapping turtle, it's short and blunt. The nose of the alligator snapping turtle is much longer. And these turtles, all they need to do is stick their heads up out of the water, body stays completely submerged. They can use those little eyes as periscopes looking around, get a breath of air, and then disappear back down into the murky abyss. Wow, this was pretty cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this, getting the chance to see a common snapping turtle compared to an alligator snapping turtle. Adam, thanks for getting us up close with these turtles. We're gonna put them back into the wild, and then we're gonna go look for some monsters, aren't we? Yeah. All right, tonight we're heading out into the creeks to look for dragons. Snapping turtles have been on the planet since the late Cretaceous period, dating back nearly 70 million years in the fossil record. Despite whether or not you think they are the perfect aquatic predator, I think we can all agree that these enormous turtles are about as prehistoric as it gets.
Hi, I'm Coyote Peterson, and welcome to another episode of Backyard Bites and Stings. Today's educational dose of entertainment is proudly brought to you by our sponsor, Stingkill. And today we're going to compare the sting of a paper wasp versus a hornet. Now, it's important to note that both of these insects are capable of stinging multiple times. Youch! And they're always going to show up at your backyard picnic or barbecue to crash the party. Now, they're after the exact same things that we love. Sweet summer treats like ketchup, barbecue sauce, soda pop, and even sweet tea. If it's brightly colored like a flower, smells sweet and delicious, it's almost guaranteed that they're going to crash your good time. On your right is a paper wasp. A single sting is definitely gonna hurt, but if you run into an entire nest of them, ooh-wee, forget about it. It's gonna be a really bad day. On your left is a bald-faced hornet. Now, this is one of the larger, more robust species that can be found here in the United States. I've never been stung by this insect before, and I'm told that the venom is pretty potent. This experiment is going to be a little unique because I don't oftentimes take two stings in one sitting. Now, what I've done is creatively shaved all the hair off of my forearm so that we can better see the sting. I've also drawn two big target squares, one for the hornet and one for the wasp. And what we're gonna do is compare Stingkill's two most popular products, the Stingkill wipes and the Stingkill neon green serum. Now, I know exactly what it is that you guys want to see. Before we dive into the stings and all of the grandiose entertainment, I have to note, this is not something you ever want to try. Allergic reactions can happen with both wasp and hornet stings, which is why we have an epinephrine pen on site. All right, first up, we're going to take a sting from the wasp. So I'm gonna slide the hornet out of the way, and we're gonna go through the typical process. You guys know how this works. I'm going to take the entomology net, I'm going to put the capsule inside of the net, I'm gonna let the bug out of the capsule, I'm gonna get it in the forceps, and then we're gonna place it right onto my forearm and see what it feels like to be stung. I'm Coyote Peterson, and I'm about to enter the sting zone with the paper wasp. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Woo, okay, took one sting. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a couple stings while I'm at it. There you go, you can see the stinger going in there. That's 2. Let's get a full-on dose here. Ooh, yeah, wow, there's a bit of fire going on right there. Okay, I'm gonna get the insect back into the capsule. Thanks, buddy, appreciate it. Okay. Now, it's important to note that these insects can't just continue producing venom after venom after venom in an immediate sting. You're gonna get the biggest dose of venom right from the initial impact, and you can see that red mark. You know, I didn't get it right in the middle of the square W, but I'm gonna let it sit in for a couple seconds. Yowzers, yeah, it burns. Ooh, and it has like a secondary wave that's now beginning to set in. Now, a single sting, like I said, is never gonna be that bad. But if you disturb a nest of paper wasps and a bunch of them get you, especially in an area like your face and on your neck, this is going to have a massive effect on your body. At this point, I'm rushing into the house, getting into the medicine cabinet, reaching in for my Sting Kill wipes. This is for external use only, one use individual packet, and it has benzocaine and a little bit of menthol. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's cold right to the touch. Oh yes, that is fantastic. Instant cooling sensation. Now remember, the venom from a paper wasp is not overly potent, and they use this sting as a defense to ward off any invading predators. So if you bump into a paper wasp nest this summer, whether it's underneath the eaves of your house, stored underneath your grill, or it's just a wasp showing up to share some of your sweet tea, don't swat at it, don't try to bat it away with a broom, leave it alone, and you will be completely safe. Okay, paper wasp. Couple stings and we're done. Now it's time to move on to the bald-faced hornet. Oh, that is an intimidating little insect right there. I'm not gonna joke with you guys. Having never been stung by this insect before, I question just how bad this sting is really going to be. Now on Justin Schmidt's insect sting pain index, this only ranks at around a 2. But remember, everybody's body reacts differently to venom, and everybody's perception of pain can be slightly different based on the venom yield that they receive. With any luck, I'll get a full yield of venom right out of the gate. You guys know how this is about to go down. Let's get the bug out of the jar and onto my forearm. You guys might think that taking the stings is the hardest part. The hardest part is really getting the insect into the entomology forceps. You have to be so gentle so you don't damage their legs or their wings. You gotta get them right into the perfect position so you just squeeze right onto the thorax without causing any injury. I'm Coyote Peterson, and I'm about to enter the sting zone with the bald-faced hornet. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ah! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness, that is actually really, really painful. Ah! Smack dab right in the center of the target. I'm gonna take one more for good measure. Ah! Okay, yeah, that's probably good enough. Ah, wow, yeah, no, that is, oh wow, that is a lot worse than the paper wasp. Holy jeez, yeah, okay. Oh man, that one drew blood. Can you see that? I did take 3 stings from the paper wasps. So I'm gonna take 3 stings from the hornet. Why not? You guys are like, come on, Coyote, one more. Oh wow, oh my goodness, this one really, holy mackerel. Okay, one more, here we go. 3rd time's the charm. Ah, yeah, you can see the stinger going right into the skin there. You see that? Ah. Okay. Jeez, the stinger's stuck into my arm. Come on. Oh, okay. Yep, that's enough. Okay, back in your jar. Yikes. Ah. Okay, yeah. Oh, that one is a lot worse than the paper wasp. Jeez. Wow, bald-faced hornet done punched the bald-headed man right in the forearm. Okay, I'm gonna let this just sit in for a second. Wow, there is definitely a noticeable difference between the bald-faced hornet and the paper wasp. I mean, there is no comparison. That felt like somebody tickling your forearm as compared to the sting that you take from the bald-faced hornet. Now, keep in mind, that is a much more robust species. Wow, it is firing on all 12 cylinders right now. That is without question a full yield of bald-faced hornet venom. So 3 solid stings. There's the initial one. Second one drew blood, and strangely enough, I'm not seeing as much effect from the 3rd sting where the stinger actually got lodged into my forearm. But I think what I experienced with that 3rd sting is maybe not as much of a venom yield. But I can promise you, that 1st sting felt like it was just injecting hot lava into my arm. Ah, Oh man, it's a sting that just keeps on giving. Goodness, all right. That's a kind of sting that makes your knee bounce, that's for sure. Man, look at the welt that's forming. Mari, you got a tight shot on that? Okay. All right, I'm gonna let it set in just a bit longer before we apply the sting kill. I really want that venom to soak in. Remember, you may not always have sting kill right there at your backyard barbecue. You may have to run inside, you may have to go underneath the sink, you may have to go up in the cupboard, but you wanna get this as quickly as you possibly can. Okay. Serum comes out. What's cool is that it's right in these little capsules, and all you need to do is tear one off. What's so much fun about these is it's glass inside of a little plastic capsule. And to get the serum to work and go into this little cotton swab up front, you squeeze it and it breaks open. And it's going to come down to the tip. Oh yeah, that's good stuff right there. Instant cooling sensation on the skin. And I'm just gonna go ahead and let that soak in. Wow, instantaneous. Literally, that spot on my arm has gone numb, it feels cool, and I went from agony to instant relief. Now there is some swelling that's beginning to form on the edge of my arm, but as far as the pain's concerned, it's pretty much gone at this point. Well, I'd say that today was both entertaining and educational. And when it comes to comparing the paper wasp to the bald-faced hornet sting, the hornet definitely packs a more painful punch. And if you find yourself in the worst-case scenario this summer at your backyard barbecue, rest assured that sting kill will save the day. Real medicine, real relief, real fast. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave, stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure.
Wait.
What?
Forgot about the grand finale.
The grand finale? Oh my goodness. The European giant hornet? Well, at backyard barbecues, people sure do love dessert. So, we might as well take a sting from this intimidating looking creature. Wow, that is an absolute giant. Holy cow.
Keep your summer fun, and if you find yourself accidentally taking a sting, make sure to remain calm, keep an eye on the impact zone, and definitely apply sting kill to ensure your painful journey comes to a quick and soothing end. For more information on Sting Kill's products, make sure to visit their website.
Jeez, sounds like a tarantula hawk. 1, 2, 3. Ah!
As the sun cut through the tops of the cypress trees, I carefully made my way into the swamp. Every step counts when you're in the backcountry of South Texas. And as my boots slowly splashed through the dark water, my focus was completely in tune with the environment. I knew that it was only a matter of time before I would find the one reptile that most people are terrified of.
Coyote, what are you looking for?
Snakes, and nothing yet. You know, most people are out there and they're hiking and they stumble upon snakes when they don't expect to. Me, I'm always looking for them. But if you do come across one in the wild, it's really important to identify the species. A lot of times you have a non-venomous snake that will look like a venomous one. Unfortunately, these non-venomous snakes are then vilified as being venomous, and a lot of times they end up being killed. My goal today is to catch one non-venomous snake and one venomous snake so that we can show you the distinct differences between the two. It's a long search out here in the swamps. I'm not giving up. We are gonna find some snakes. Good news for me though is that this one is non-venomous. Bring up in the light, check that out. That is a broad-banded water snake. Woo! Okay, that is half of the equation right there. Watch your GoPro, he's trying to bite you. Well, that's the safe one. Now we gotta find the moccasin. Woo. Awesome, man, definitely got my thumb. A bite from this one, and I'm gonna be just fine. But the other snake we're looking for, the water moccasin, if that had tagged my thumb, we wouldn't be getting shots. We'd be on our way to the hospital. Look at that. Maybe get a little closer for your camera there.
Oh, he's bitey. Beautiful snake.
Okay, cool. Well, let's keep searching for moccasins. You did not want to do is just accidentally step on a venomous snake. This is definitely moccasin territory. There's a moccasin right there. Okay, come up slow.
Where?
Right up against the side of that tree.
Oh, I see.
Wow, look at how big it is. Okay, no, this is the real deal. Stay back. Okay. Stay a couple steps back. Now, they usually move pretty slow. I'm gonna try to hook it and bring it up here under the path. You ready?
Yep. Careful.
Oh. Start moving. Got my tail. Okay, there we go. Do not want to take a bite from this snake. That one will send you to the hospital. Okay, bringing it up on the path here. Wow, okay. Ooh, rattling the tail a little bit. That is a defensive sign. Okay. It should just stop for us. Come here. There we go. All right, what we need to do now is just get the snake under control so that we can get it up close for the cameras. Let me move it back a little bit here. My nerves are going. Just looking into the water there, and that's how well these things camouflage. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye, just an obscure shape up against that cypress. And that's what these snakes will do. You don't often see them just slithering about like you would a water snake. They'll often be just like this, curled up in a ball somewhere, trying to stay camouflaged, trying to stay away from any potential predators. And then again, if you were gonna try to eat this snake, you better be quick, because if you're tagged by those fangs, you are going to be in a world of trouble. Now this is a water moccasin, but they are famously known as cottonmouths. And watch this, I'll get the snake to open its mouth and you'll see that white throat. Look at that. That is a defensive, oh, see, look, you got the tail going now too. You see that? Mimicking a rattlesnake, saying, I am venomous. Yes, we know that you are venomous. I can actually see the fangs tucked back. Woo, I am dripping bullets of sweat right now. Let me back up a touch. Okay, well, perfect. We have the two snake species that are indigenous to this habitat, a water moccasin and a broad-banded water snake. One venomous, one that is not. Stick around and we'll show you which is which. Check this out. Completely calm now, considering the fact just a few minutes ago, this snake was doing everything it could to bite me and get away. This is the broad-banded water snake, and look at this incredibly calm demeanor. Now, I noticed the same thing with Lake Erie water snakes and northern water snakes. At first, it's all about fight or flight. If they can't get away and you catch them, they immediately try to bite you. Now, the good news for me, like I said before, is that this is a non-venomous species.
So how big do the snakes get? I mean, do these snakes get as big as a northern water snake?
Yeah, they do. I would say this is about average size for one of these snakes. It is, I'd say, about 2.5 feet in length, but they can grow to be about 3.5 or 4 feet at a maximum size. Females are larger than the males, and I do believe it's a male looking at its cloaca. Yeah, you're a handsome fella, aren't you? Now, these snakes are often misidentified. People see them near the water and they automatically think it's a water moccasin. This is a very common species all across the southeastern United States. And the reason people mistake it for a water moccasin is mostly the fact that A, it's right by the water, and B, the coloration. I'm gonna turn the snake just a little bit. You see all that dark brown that runs the length of the body, and then that faded banding looks just like a younger water moccasin. But then, of course, if you flip the snake over and look at its belly, look at all that copper checkering. You will not find that on a water moccasin. And not that you'd ever necessarily see the belly of the snake, but I just think that that's really, really cool looking. This is actually the first time I have caught this species of snake, and it is just so incredibly calm right now. I cannot believe how comfortable this snake has gotten with us. And we've only been handling it for a few minutes. Oh, but it did musk on me. There you go. See that white stuff on my hand right there? Oh, yeah, it stinks. That is another defense mechanism. Poop on a potential predator if it's trying to eat me. All right, but I'm not gonna eat you. Don't worry, we can just hang out and be friends. Wow, this snake is so cool. Well, I think at this juncture we should bring out the water moccasin. I'm gonna hand this snake off to Mario. He's gonna bring in the moccasin. This is gonna be a little bit more dangerous. Hopefully we'll get that snake to just calm down on the ground, and we'll get the cameras up close for it so we can show you the distinct field markings of that snake. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, now we're gonna bring in the water moccasin. Just keep your wits about you because this is going to be slightly more dangerous. Okay, let me bring her over here.
Slightly is an understatement.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, just let me get her to calm down. Hold on, I'm gonna get her to stop. There we go.
So, Coyote, the water snake you just held had anticoagulant in its saliva. This snake has venom. What would this snake do to you?
This snake would, depending how your body reacted, it could potentially kill you. There are not many reported deaths from water moccasin bites. However, that venom is incredibly toxic and it will break down your red blood cells. You could lose a finger, you could lose your hand. Let's just put it this way. If I'm tagged by this snake, we are leaving this scene and we are heading to the hospital. So I need to be extra careful right now. Mark, we've got you a couple feet past the snake. We've got Mario just off camera here making sure the snake makes a move. You can keep it away from you, Mark. But other than that, if we just stay calm and collected just like this in front of the snake, we should be just fine. You see the snake's not trying to flee, it's just keeping itself low to the ground, its body spread. Look how wide and girthy that snake is. Now, these snakes, like the banded water snakes, are aquatic. However, they do not dive down underwater to hunt. You will see them occasionally moving from pocket of water to pocket of water, but they usually are hunting on the embankment. These snakes do not have rattles like rattlesnakes, and they rely on their camouflage to keep them hidden. A lot of times people will be walking down a trail, you accidentally step on the snake, and that's how you were bitten. This snake has no interest in chasing or hurting humans. If you just admire this animal from a safe distance, you're gonna be just fine. Okay, so the most important part of this episode is that we want to show you a comparison of this snake next to the broad-banded water snake. Now, to do that, I'm going to have to get the water moccasin under control, which means I'm going to use my snake hook to gently pin its head and then pick the snake up. Mario's going to bring in the broad-banded water snake. We're going to put them side by side and show you the distinct field marks so that you can properly identify these snakes if you ever come across them in the wild. I am gently going to get position of her head, just like this. There we go. I want my fingers just behind the head like that. Okay.
This is the most dangerous thing you can do with a venomous snake.
Yep. Never, ever, ever do what you see me doing here. I'll get full control of the body. There we go. Yeah, well, you notice my hand is shaking. Now, never, ever, ever try to pick up a venomous snake like you just saw me do. And the only reason that I headed this snake is so that we can get both of these right next to each other. I've got a gentle yet firm grip on the back of her head, just behind the venom glands, and full control of the body. You won't see me moving too much more for this scene. I just gotta kind of collect my nerves, stay calm. Mario, go ahead and bring in the broad-banded water snake.
There we go.
Cool, look at that.
A little nervous?
A little bit. Kind of have a dangerous snake here in my hand. She's calmed down a bit. You can see her tongue's flicking out now, so that's good. She's not trying to expose her fangs. Now, the water moccasin, because it is a pit viper and it has these two massive venom glands, has a very triangular shaped head. You pan over to the broad-banded water snake, and its head is actually very narrow. However, when these broad-banded water snakes are threatened, they will flatten their heads and puff them up, forming them into a triangle, which oftentimes causes people to misidentify them for water moccasins. It's good news for the snake if it drives off a predator, but it's bad news if that predator is a human, and then unfortunately that snake usually ends up being killed. Sorry, a little nervous. Let's look on the heads as well at the snake's eye. So I'm gonna just slightly turn.
I'll move. You stay there.
Okay. You'll notice that the water moccasin has a vertical pupil, while the banded water snake has a circular pupil. I don't imagine anybody out there watching is ever going to get face to face with either of these snake species, but if you happen upon one and you see a vertical pupil, you know it's a moccasin and you know that it's venomous. Now, the last difference on the face of these snakes is the fact that the water moccasin is a pit viper. Now, right up front there, you'll see a nostril, and just behind that, you see another hole in between the nostril and the eye. That is the heat-sensing pit, which allows these snakes to detect not only their prey, but potential predators in the environment. Now, when you look at the broad-banded water snake, you'll notice that it does not have pits, just eyes and nostrils. When you look at these two snakes overhead, you can see how similar they are in coloration. Now, the broad-banded water snake has more distinct banding, but if you were to just see these snakes at a quick glance, they are pretty similar looking. But you'll notice that the water moccasin has a much girthier, flattened body as compared to the banded water snake. Look at that difference right there.
But their scales look similar.
They do, don't they? And both species have rough keeled scales, which allows them to quickly be able to move through this rugged environment.
Can we see the bellies? I know that's another big difference.
Yep.
Wow, look at that.
Yep. Now, you're never likely to see the belly of these two snakes next to each other, but as you can see, the banded water snake is beautiful and checkered, and the water moccasin is just kind of plain and cream colored. Not that that makes this snake any less special.
I smell something, Coyote.
You do. I smell that same thing. Both of these snakes right now are musking, which is a final defense tactic in the event that something tries to eat them. That musk is coming out of their bottom ends, and if you're a predator and you get that in your mouth, it tastes really bad. So, as you can tell, these snakes have many different defenses against potential predators. For everyone out there watching, we want you to know that these two snakes are very difficult to distinguish from one another. And if you see a snake out there in the wild, definitely treat it as if it's venomous. If it's a moccasin and you take a bite, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. So it's best to just always admire these animals from a safe distance. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave. Stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure. All right, you ready to let them go? Let's do it. Back into the wild with these snakes.
Working with snakes is one of the most dangerous aspects of this job. And the reason I do it is so that we can learn about these incredible animals and hopefully walk away with a newfound respect for even the ones that we are afraid of.
This summer, in the scorching deserts of the Southwest, something strange has happened. Science experts believe it may be a radioactive anomaly.
What we have here is a radioactive anomaly.
To be honest, no one really knows why normal-sized lizards have now turned into city-destroying monsters.
What's going on, Coyote Pack? It's a dark, windy night in Arizona. And this evening, we're going to take a look at two of the coolest lizards in the Southwest. The GILA monster
And the beaded lizard.
which happen to be the only two venomous lizards in the Western Hemisphere. Our goal this evening is to take a look at some of the similarities and, of course, some of the differences, and then ultimately at the end decide, are you Team GILA?
Or are you team beaded?
I don't know. We'll have to see how this all pans out. Now, Mario, to get started, it's important to note that neither of these animals were found in the wild.
That's right.
Both the GILA and the beaded were born and raised in captivity, and they are ambassadors for their species, and we are very excited to have them here hanging out with us tonight for this little educational session in venomous desert lizards.
Which means these guys are fairly tame, actually. That's why we are able to handle them the way we are. Because, of course, they are venomous.
Right.
Right.
Have to be careful, not gonna get our fingers too close to those mouths. You don't wanna take an accidental bite. That would be very painful, but we'll get to some of that in a second. I think where it all begins with these two cool lizards is in the name.
It's all in the name, right? So the Gila monster and the beaded lizard both belong to the genus Heloderma, which means studded skin.
That's right. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my lizard sideways here, and all of those little bumps that you see running down the length of each lizard's body are osteoderms.
That's right.
Little pieces of bone covered in skin and scale.
which of course makes them look beaded or armored.
Right, and hence the name beaded lizard, right? All those little osteoderms look like little tiny beadwork. So the people in the range of these animals saw that and said beaded lizard.
Right, and it pretty much looks like armor coating. Now, when you look at these two lizards and you realize that they are related and they actually are buddies, they live together in captivity, which is kind of cool. So they're very friendly. You guys don't have to worry about them possibly getting into a fight with one another. There is another really interesting and obvious difference between the two of these lizards.
Yes.
And of course, that size.
That's right. I mean, look at the size of this beaded lizard compared to the Gila monster.
Let's try to turn them sideways real quick so that everybody can just see
Look at
that difference.
That's significant.
Right.
Right? Now, you're used to seeing the Gila monster on some Brave Wilderness episodes, but we've never featured the beaded lizard. And a really cool fact is, even though the beaded lizard is larger, they can get up to 3 feet in length, so this one has a little bit more growing to do. The Gila monster is technically the largest native species, lizard species in the United States.
Right, and for a Gila monster, this is pretty much considered full grown. They can get a little bit bigger than this, but when you think about this as being a full grown Gila and that being nearly a full grown beaded lizard, that is a huge difference.
Yeah, I think the beaded gets a very big point in size.
I would agree. The beaded lizard, when it comes to size mattering, it might make a difference when it comes to hunting for your prey. Now, one thing you'll also notice is the length of the tail.
Oh, yes.
The tail has some differences, but also some similarities. Let's try to see if we can get those side by side.
Look at that. The tail of the beaded is significantly longer. The Gila monster has a little bit more of a short and stout tail. Now, they both serve a similar function and they store fat in their tails. So if you were to give a squeeze to your Gila's tail,
it's
I'm
chubby.
doing to the beaded, right? That's all a fat reserve. So a healthy Gila and beaded lizard will have a nice fat reserve in their tail.
Now the reason for them keeping these fat reserves in their tails is that in the desert environment, sometimes if there's a prolonged drought and these lizards need to stay down in their burrows for months at a time, they can survive off of the nutrients that exist within that fat reserve in the tail.
Exactly, because both the Gila monster and the beaded lizard live in arid environments. In fact, the beaded lizard is found in Mexico down to Guatemala, whereas the Gila monster overlaps in certain ranges as the beaded lizard, but of course found in parts of the US.
Right, and it's important to note that the Gila monster is the only venomous lizard in the United States, and combined together, these are the only two venomous lizards in the Western Hemisphere.
That's right, that's
Pretty cool. Now, another similarity that these two lizards share, and you can probably notice that forked tongue sticking out back and forth, is of course that tongue structure.
Yep, the forked tongue is a extrasensory organ. It's a chemoreceptor. So if you were to look at the eyes of the Gila and the beaded, are they big?
No, they're pretty small.
Pretty tiny, yeah, they don't have good vision. So they actually rely on their forked tongue, their excellent sense of hearing, and sense of smell to detect prey and predators. And that leads to a very good question. What do Gila monsters and beadeds eat?
Well, it's important to note that they're very slow moving, so they're
Right.
not exactly gonna chase down a jackrabbit or a roadrunner.
Check this out, ready? That's about top speed.
Yeah,
They're not fast.
slow moving. It's like a tortoise for the most part, which means they're opportunistic. The easier the meal that they can consume, the better it's going to be for the lizard. So they're famous for being able to rob bird nests of their eggs or their young. Where else might you find young animals?
Right, so they're nest specialists. Now, one thing to consider is ground nesting birds, right? They're not going up into the trees and raiding a nest, although the beadeds are semi-arboreal, so sometimes they do. But primarily stuff that's on the ground, like little rodents and such that are gonna make their nest in burrows. They'll go in there and they'll actually raid the nest.
So when you think about the fact that these guys are opportunistic and they'll take the easiest meal possible, they're venomous. How is that venom necessarily working to consume their prey if they don't have to slow something down like the bite of a rattlesnake?
Great question, right? Most snakes will utilize their venom to dispatch their prey items, but it is believed that Gila monsters and beaded lizards use their venom primarily as defense, right? So because they're slow moving, they're subject to predation themselves from coyotes, bobcats, and such, so they have to defend themselves with that venom.
Right, and it's very important to note that the venom glands in both the Gila monster and the beaded lizard are in the lower jaw. It's not like a rattlesnake that's got a venom gland up on the roof of its head with hinged fangs. These guys have fixed teeth. They're very sharp, turned backwards, and when this animal bites and grabs onto something, it essentially has to chew in the venom, which works up through its teeth, grooves in the teeth, and then mixes into the saliva. Now, given the fact that both of these lizards are venomous, I'm sure one burning question you all have is which bite is more painful, the Gila monster or the beaded lizard?
Well, you've experienced the Gila monster bite, so do you want to explain a little bit of how that felt?
Sure, yeah, the Gila monster bite, which was an accidental bite, I must add, was one of the most painful and excruciating experiences I have ever been through. My finger was in the mouth of the Gila monster for probably less than a second, and still I was envenomated, and the pain lasts for nearly 8 hours. So when it comes to the venom compounds, the makeup of that venom, Mario, which venom would you say is more potent?
Well, I'm not gonna get bitten by the beaded, so...
Good, we're not doing any bites in this episode.
So I'm not gonna necessarily compare side by side, but they're both in the same genus Hyloderma, which means that their venom components are gonna be practically identical. But because of the size of the beaded, I think it might deliver more venom, and the mechanical bite itself might be stronger.
Okay, so we're going to give the beaded lizard the point for the more impactful and possibly painful bite based on size and venom yield.
I think so, I think so.
And I have to give you guys the warning, if you see one of these lizards in the wild, whether it's a Gila monster or a beaded lizard, admire it from a safe distance. I learned the hard way. They may look slow, but if they need to move quickly, trust me, they can spin their bodies around in the blink of an eye, and if you get your finger, your toe, your hand, anything stuck in the jaws of this lizard, it is going to be a very painful experience.
And it's also important to note that these animals are extremely rare, and they are a protected species. You cannot handle, harass, kill a Gila monster or beaded in any part of their range because they are protected species. So the chances of encountering a Gila monster or a beaded lizard are rare. And if you do, celebrate it, right? Take a picture from a safe distance, leave it alone, and you're fine.
Now, given the fact that these lizards are slow-moving and monstrous in their own right, I could only imagine what would it be like if we were capable of shrinking down to the size of a prey item and to be in the environment, running through the Southwest, getting chased by a Gila monster or a beaded lizard. I wonder what that would be like.
This summer, in the scorching deserts of the Southwest, something strange has happened. Science experts believe it may be a radioactive anomaly.
What we have here is a radioactive anomaly.
A few credible sources point a finger at Mars, and some even think aliens are to blame. To be honest, no one really knows why normal-sized lizards have now turned into city-destroying monsters. In an attempt to find the answers, two fearless adventure-seeking men will embark upon the journey of a lifetime.
Step on it, Coyote!
Come here, Coyote. Running is futile.
Watch out for that rock!
Get ready to run.
Whoa, that would be crazy.
Yeah, tell me about it. And there you have it. We've learned some pretty cool things about the Gila monster and the beaded lizard, some similarities and some differences. The only two venomous lizards in the Western Hemisphere. Now it's up to you to decide. Which are you, Team Gila
or Team Beaded?
Write in the comment section below and tell us which one of these lizards is your favorite. I'm Coyote Peterson.
I'm Mario Aldecoa.
Be brave.
Stay wild.
We'll see you on the next adventure. During the wet season, Costa Rica is famous for having endless days of torrential rain, which makes filming episodes incredibly difficult. This is one of the most incredible fossorial creatures.
Hey Coyote, I'm sorry to stop you, man. The camera's getting doused. I'm afraid we're gonna lose the camera.
Dude, we have to film this animal.
I know.
On one hand, this natural rainforest cycle presents challenges. However, it also creates the perfect conditions for finding reptiles and amphibians. While on the Caribbean coast, we spent several days exploring the Costa Rican Amphibian Research Preserve. And this expansive mid-elevation rainforest is home to one of the richest populations of frog species on the planet.
All right, we are rolling.
Check that out.
And you are in some mud.
This is definitely a good sign. It has rained quite a bit here in the rainforest. Now, recently we just showed you guys an episode with the red-eyed leaf frog, probably the most famous amphibian species here in Costa Rica. And while we were out at night, we kept seeing these larger tree frogs. They're green, they also have red eyes, and they're actually called gliding tree frogs. And I figured you guys probably want to see those up close for the camera. So what we're gonna do tonight is head over to this pond where they have come down from the trees, work our way through this gloppy mud, and get some up close for the camera.
Typically, these frogs can only be found high up in the canopy. However, when large rainstorms push through, they descend from the treetops to begin breeding. And because of this, we were able to witness all stages of this creature's life cycle. From eggs to tadpoles, and of course, plenty of adults. Get ready to meet the gliding tree frog.
Let's see what we can find. Oh, there's a little frog right there. Great place to look for creatures. There's a turtle. Look at that.
See a turtle?
I see a turtle.
Think you can catch it?
I'm gonna most definitely catch it.
Oh, I see it.
Keep the lights on it. Got it.
Nice.
Woo! There we go. Oh yeah, that's a little deep right there. Check that out. Wow! Well, we've seen me jump into the water and catch turtles before, but not for this species. That is a white-lipped mud turtle. Not musking on me, though they are capable of musking, like most musk and mud turtles. Look at that. Sharp front claws, too. And the bite of this turtle is, ooh, yeah, pretty powerful. You see how long they can extend their neck out. I see you. Yes, no, my finger is not a tadpole. This turtle is definitely too small to be eating any large frogs, the ones that we would be looking for. But tadpoles and little froglets are definitely fair game. So we're going to put him back into the pond and see if we can find ourselves some frogs. There he goes. Bye, buddy. Whoop. Oh, they bury quick. Okay. Oh, look at this. Ha! Perfect. Right on the edge of the pond, exactly. Wow, okay, there's a snake right there next to us with a mouthful of eggs. That is a cat-eyed snake.
Wow, it does have an egg hanging out of its mouth.
Okay, caught this guy right in the middle of dinner. I'm gonna take my flashlight off it, okay? You still see it well enough?
Yeah,
oh, this is perfect. I mean, we are just 2 for 2 here. I'm gonna gently bend this leaf around here for you, Mark. Look at this. You see that? Looks like fungus, right?
Those are eggs.
Those are eggs. Those are the eggs of the gliding tree frog. Now, this is one of the dangers of being a frog and why these frogs come down in the masses to lay their eggs, because there's so many predators. These eggs aren't even gonna get the chance to develop into tadpoles and then drop down into the water. Kind of sad, but that's part of the cycle out here in the rainforest. All right, sorry buddy, we're gonna disturb you during dinner. Let's see if I can just gently, oh, now your nose has been spotted. Oftentimes they will musk. It's a very cool snake. There we go, just wanna be really gentle. Hopefully with that mouthful of frog eggs, you will be thinking, I'm full, I'm not gonna be biting anybody. Look at that. And these snakes have incredible balance. Look how it's capable of just completely extending out its head, almost like a vine. You see that? It's looking at your microphone right now, Mark, thinking, that looks like a place to escape to. You know you have some of your dinner on the side of your face. Are you aware of this? He's kind of like, you guys shouldn't have bugged me during dinner. Look at that. I can just feel how well this snake is capable of, watch this, it's gonna try to get out onto the tree limb. It can completely hold up the weight of its body. Look at that. Wow. So incredibly strong. Look at how it just slinks up the side of that tree. That is amazing. Let's see, can he actually hold on to that? He's gonna curl his body around. Wow, how about that? Well, 2 predators right in a row. I'm gonna let go of it. I feel like it doesn't even know that it has an egg hanging out of the side of its mouth. Can you see that?
I can. Caught red-handed.
Caught you, buddy. Robbing the nest of eggs. So cool. All right, what I'm gonna do is actually put him right back where he was. I know that he is eating the eggs of the frogs, but that is a part of the life cycle of these reptiles and amphibians, and I do not want to disturb him from his dinner any more than we already have. There you go. Okay, well that's a pretty good start. We walked out of the jungle right here to the edge of this body of water and already have caught 2 of the predators that are out here helping to control the population of these frogs. But for us, we want to get up close with one of these amphibians, and this is the absolute perfect time to do it. Let's work our way along the edge of the pond and see if we can find some. Sound good?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. Come here.
What do you see? What do you see?
Look at this wandering spider.
Whoa.
That is an enormous spider. And if you walk underneath a branch like this and you bump it and that falls into your neckline and you take a bite, you are going to the hospital. Look at how big that thing is. All right, just again, guys, Mark, Mario, make sure you're paying attention everywhere that you are going. All right, let's keep going. Oh, there's a red-eyed tree frog right there. Check that out. We spent so much time looking for a red-eyed leaf frog the other night, and sure enough, there's one right there. Let's do this. Actually, get it up close for the camera. Can't let you not have a starring moment, little guy. Look at that. Ah, isn't that awesome?
Oh man, Cody,
yeah.
Look to your left. To your left, down.
Perfect, look at that. That is a big tree frog. Oh, got it. There we have now. Oh, I hear you chirping. There is the gliding leaf frog right next to the red-eyed leaf frog. Wow, now you can see the distinct differences between the two, and you'll notice the differences in the eye color. You see that? The red-eyed leaf frog has a much more brilliant orange to its eye, and the gliding variety is darker brown and significantly bigger. Now, the most distinguishing feature is look at the side of this frog's body. You see how yellow it is? All uniform in color, right? Mm-hmm. Yet, the red-eyed leaf frog, can you see the color on the side of its body?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Blue with those iconic yellow stripes. And you'll notice that the red-eyed leaf frog has very orange toes. Oh, where are you going? Come here. Very orange toes and very yellow toes on the gliding leaf frog. And the size difference is really the big thing.
So Coyote, I noticed that you're holding the male. How big are the female gliding frogs?
Those are almost twice the size of the male, and that's what I really want to get up close for the camera. So let's keep searching, put these frogs back on their leaves, and hopefully we'll find one. You ready?
Yep, let's put them back.
All right.
Whoop.
Yeah. Got it right back here. Ready? Ah, there we go. Look at that one out there on that tree branch. That one looks like it's pretty good size, and it will pose a little bit of a challenge. Watch that branch. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Oh, wet. I got the frog. Here.
Nice grab.
Oh, I'm stuck in the mud. Okay, back up a little bit. Coming up there. That is probably about average size for what we've seen tonight. Maybe a little bit bigger, but definitely the gliding tree frog. Look at that little creature. Wow, this is good because now my hand is wet and it's keeping the frog moist. And look at how those sticky pads are just gripping onto my finger. Now let's talk about the name of this frog for a second, the gliding tree frog. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, they must glide through the rainforest. Now when they leap, they spread out their arms and their legs and then whap, land down on a leaf. It's speculative that they're actually gliding. It could just be the momentum of their body and the weight as they're hurling through the air that makes it appear as if they're gliding. Either way, this frog has definitely earned a very cool name.
Compared to its body size, its hands and feet look quite large.
Oh, they are, and it needs to have these large feet and hands because if it's sailing through the canopy from leaf to leaf, if it misses a leaf, let's say it just kind of goes off course, it only needs one hand to be able to grab on, and then it will swing its body up underneath and be able to prevent itself from falling down to the forest floor. That's pretty cool to be out here in the rainforest where we're getting to see all phases of this frog's life tonight, from the eggs to the tadpoles to little froglets far out there in the water, and then of course the adults, which are just all along the edges of the pond. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave. Stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure. All right, let's hop back off into the wild.
It's a beautiful morning here in the Brazilian Pantanal. Today we're heading out on the Cuiabá River. This protected habitat is known for its high concentration of jaguars, one of the world's largest cat species. I'm going to be working alongside Abby Martin. Abby is the founder and president of the Jaguar ID Project. And over the past decade, she has been cataloging these incredible cats. She's not only giving them names and collecting their stats, but she's creating a genealogy family tree. To this point, she has documented over 300 of these beautiful felines. So with any luck, we are going to see some beautiful cats, get some epic shots, and learn all about the work that Abby's doing.
These big cats are the true kings and queens of this Brazilian wilderness. And the moment you catch sight of one, their mystique captures you in a way that never lets go.
This is the closest we have been to a jaguar yet. We've got two of them right down at the water drinking. Wow, beautiful. Probably never gets old seeing jaguars, does it?
She's getting up.
Over the past quarter century, the northern Pantanal specifically has become famous for its high concentration of jaguars.
Not too many people know about this place. You know, it's one of the most biodiverse wetlands in the world, but like most people, you tell that you're going to the Pantanal, they don't even know about it. But you know, everyone knows about the Amazon and it's the world's lungs, but the Pantanal is kind of like a heart, it's like the beating heart. So it's super important to protect this area, and I think using the Jaguar, we can do that together.
Once upon a time, cats in this area were heavily hunted for the fur trade. Many others were killed by farmers who saw them as a threat to livestock in what is commonly known as the jaguar-cattle conflict. But the good news is that this population is currently flourishing. And now, people travel from all around the world to admire, film, and photograph these cats, as local communities recognize that a living jaguar is far more valuable than a dead one.
Amazing morning so far. This is our second jaguar sighting, and right now the lighting's really nice. We actually haven't really seen jaguars on the sandbank that often.
That's a cool shot right there, coming right up to the water's edge.
So the unique markings that I look for on Patricia is this L that kind of frames her eye there. And then on her left, right where, like about where her heart would be, there's almost a rosette pattern that looks like a heart.
So what's super cool is Patricia is Abby's favorite cat. Patricia is the logo for the Jaguar ID Project. So this is so cool that we are filming the cat that is literally the symbol of the Jaguar ID Project on the day that we're out here filming with Abby. How crazy is that?
That was awesome. That was the first time they've ever walked towards the camera, so we got head-on shots.
You pressed record, right?
Oh no, yeah, we did.
To capture the best cinematography of jaguars in action, Trent and Maria spent months building, testing, and ultimately rigging a camera and gimbal system that was designed specifically to the specs of this boat. These will be our beauty shots.
Patricia is very slowly slinking through the water hyacinths and the taller grasses. Abby said she's in hunting mode, and the way you can tell is their shoulders become hunched and they stick closer to the ground, just like you might see your own cat doing as it stalks, you know, a little laser pointer in your family room. This is a much different scenario, though. This cat's looking for Caiman.
Our boat driver is saying that she wants to cross the river.
The boats have given her enough space now. Hopefully she's going to make it all the way across. These cats are incredible swimmers. The Jaguar is the most aquatic-oriented big cat on the planet. The speed at which she can move across the river is it's crazy. This cat is just zooming.
The jaguars know these waters like the back of their paw. But as humans, to help us navigate the complex maze of rivers, we hired the top adventure outfitter, Biodiverse Brazil Tours, and their superstar boat captain.
This cat's definitely actively hunting.
She's entered the reeds now, which is, you know, where the caimans hide. So we'll see what happens in the next few minutes.
She's coming right into view. We find ourselves fixed right in the middle of a full-on jaguar hunt.
That was an attempt right there. That was awesome. Jaguars are considered super apex predators. And aside from their grappling retractable claws, their primary weapons of choice are kept hidden within their skull. Robust and relatively short by design, it is densely packed with muscle, providing them one of the strongest bite forces of any cat species. But their teeth, those will send chills down your spine right before they snap it. Specifically designed for penetrating the thick hide and scales of prey items like caiman, just a single bite is powerful enough to crush the back of a skull or sever the spinal column, rendering their victim completely helpless. When it comes to being an effective killer, nothing in the mammalian kingdom is more lethal than a jaguar.
Now, one way that we're able to keep an eye on the cat without physically seeing her is just watching the movement of the grasses, which are much taller than she is, and also the flight of birds, because the birds are the first alarm sign that a cat is in the area. Okay, so the jaguar has decided to forge the river. It is swimming from one embankment to the other. It's a very wide stretch. We're just giving her lots of space so we don't spook her. And she's gonna try to hunt this other shoreline where hopefully there will be some better options for food. She missed. Oh, so close. My heart's racing. Ah. Abby, how did she miss that one?
You saw how she kind of like was trying to grab with her hands.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get a hold and then she get a hold with her mouth. And
yeah.
You start rolling in the water, but it's escaped again.
Ah, what a close call. So Abby, we're getting into another cat's territory, Estella's, who we saw last night. Will she hunt in Estella's territory?
Yeah, she'll continue to hunt here. If Estella feels like she's gonna get too close to her kill, there could be a cat fight.
Wait a second. Estella caught a caiman last night? Yes, she did. And wouldn't you know it, we just missed it. We had been watching her sleep for several hours, but chose to go downriver to film a couple drone shots since she didn't seem very active. Then all of a sudden, a call came over the radio waves and boats began rushing to the area where we left Estella. And as we arrived, the last thing we saw was her pulling a caiman up the embankment and out of sight. Talk about frustrating.
We missed a hunting behavior. We missed a jaguar catching a caiman. We had the opportunity for the shot, We had it.
It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We got to move on, and we'll find a way to get the shot, and that's the nature of what it is.
I imagine that these two have already encountered before, like their territories overlap. But when food's involved, it's a different story, you know, so.
We'll see what happens. Well, we lost the cat. Patricia disappeared up over a hill and deeper into the jungle, and we have not seen her for about 20 minutes now. The good news is that all of the boats are gone. We are the only boat out here now, and we got the closest we have been to filming a jaguar catching a caiman. She literally had her paw on the front of the reptile, but unfortunately it thrashed, got away, and she remains hungry, just as we remain hungry for capturing this amazing shot.
We are all so busy trying to fight for the life that we want that most of us never take the time to slow down and appreciate the very moment we are living in. The jaguar lives and dies by its daily moments. There are no opinions, no influences, no regrets for being anything other than exactly what they are: perfectly designed survival machines. Unfortunately, we never reconnected with Patricia. But 2 days after our departure from the Pontonal, our friend and wildlife photographer, Marlon DeToy, witnessed Patricia finally catching a caiman. Jaguars can sometimes go days without having a meal. It's all about being in the right place at the right time. And when it comes to filming a kill shot, the exact same philosophy applies.
What an amazing experience, getting to explore the Brazilian Pontonal for 7 straight days, filming its most celebrated apex predator, the jaguar. Big thanks to Biodiverse Brazil Tours for getting us into the environment, and a big thanks to Abby Martin and the Jaguar ID Project for making us a part of their conservation research. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave, stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure.
Abby is a light of hope in the world of conservation. Her story and undying commitment to the preservation of these jaguars goes beyond the physical realm and transcends into the spiritual domain. She truly is the mother of jaguars, and her work is worthy of a standing ovation. If you want to learn more, or would consider donating to the continued protection and monitoring of this jaguar population, make sure to visit the Jaguar ID Project. And if you want to embark upon a grand adventure of your own, Biodiverse Brazil Tours will gladly get you into the realm of these iconic cats. If you love animals, make sure to search for the Brave Wilderness channel on YouTube so you can join me and the crew on our next wild adventure.